Good evening. It's me, Larry, and I'm coming to you live from Stevie's room. Tonight's topic is on FIV and FELV. They are two very separate illnesses. However, they're oftentimes discussed together because they are frequently tested on the same panel. It's known as a SNAP test. So it's one of those procedures that's done when you bring a cat into a veterinarian and you're bringing it into your home, and you want to make sure that you look for fleas, you look for worms, and you do a SNAP test to see if it has one of these illnesses. They are very different. So let me start with each separately. FIV is known as the feline immunodeficiency virus. It's the HIV version for cats. It is not the same virus as HIV in humans. It is not contagious to humans. It is not contagious to dogs. It is contagious to other cats. The reason why it has that HIV type labeling to it is because the illness progresses similar to the human HIV, where there develops opportunistic infections, and ultimately, unless some other obstacle presents for the animal, will claim the life of the animal. It will get sick. It can live many, many years with FIV. There are methods of transmission. Sex is one, but if the cat is neutered, obviously that takes sex out of the equation. Another one is fighting, and that is one of the biggest concerns with taking an FIV cat into a household with other cats that are negative. Will the cat get into a fight, draw blood, and therefore transmit the virus? Now you've got a cat that was healthy, sick. This oftentimes becomes a debate topic for people who have integrated them versus people who haven't. The people who have integrated them say, well, the cat doesn't fight. The other cats don't fight. They would have been dead on the street anyway. Here they all live. Everybody wins. It can't be transmitted from bowls. It can't be transmitted from litter boxes. I mean, it's pretty hard to transmit. However, it just takes that one instance where it's not, and then now you may have another one get into a fight, and then now you've got a house with cats that it can spread that way. One fight can lead to another. You really don't want to take the chance if you don't like. I don't. If you can keep them separate, that's an option, but you always got that little thing hanging over you that it could transmit. Oh my. He'll get down. Hope he doesn't fall on me. The joy of parenthood. Okay. FIV cats can be tested with this SNAP test. It's a very quick test. It can also be confirmed with blood work. That is a more thorough way of testing it. But you'll know, look, if you bring a cat in, an adult cat, that means after the age of 6 months, in for a testing, and it tests positive, then you've got a problem. I don't think you need to confirm it with blood work. You can, but with kittens, it's not accurate until they reach about 5 or 6 months. There may be antibodies passed from the mother onto the kitten. It might give a false positive. It might give a false negative. A PCR testing, generally if a kitten comes in sick, you're going to keep it isolated anyway. If a kitten comes in healthy, it's not going to fight with anybody. But you can SNAP test it. Just realize you're not going to get a totally accurate result. I tend not to test kittens, and I have never had a kitten come in super healthy that ended up having FIV. FELV, on the other hand, if you've got Kittens with FELV usually don't survive it. They're really sick right out of the gate. Now let's talk about FELV for a minute. That is the feline leukemia virus. Unlike the FIV, it is a different virus, and it is highly contagious. They can spread it by saliva, using litter boxes. I mean, this thing is just, you can't have another cat if you have an FELV cat. It should not even be in the outdoor colony with the other cats because they share food and they transmit it to one another. Some people will argue, but I had my cat eat from a bowl with an FELV cat. You're taking such a huge risk. And they live, there are two types. There's the progressive and the regressive. Regressive tends to live a little longer. But you're looking at about a 3-year span on an adult cat from the diagnosis to the death, of which the end is pretty brutal. I have never had an FELV cat because in the rare instances that I have a cat test for FELV, I wouldn't accept the cat. I had one cat once that I was ready to bring into my house, test for FIV and FELV. Heartbreaking. I have a friend who took him, isolated him. And there are some rescues that only have FIV cats or only have FELV cats, but it's almost like, it's very hard to even get little kittens adopted. So I mean, realize that a sick cat, finding a home for a sick cat is not always that easy. I do recommend with adult cats that you get them tested when bringing them into a multiple cat household. Even if it's going to be your only cat, this way if you bring in another cat, whether or not you can, or whether you should, or you can weigh some of those things. Some of the illnesses, an FIV cat can live a long time. I had an FIV cat on the outdoors live 12 years. But we started noticing like little sores, and then when things became real bad, I actually took it in, isolated it, caged it, and I started noticing the water was very cloudy. It tested positive for FIV. I held it in a bathroom away from all my other cats for 3 days until somebody was ready to take it. But by then it was brought in here because it was so bad. And when it went to the person who was going to basically give it hospice, who had no cats that offered to do this, the cat was in very bad shape and finally couldn't even get out. It laid on its side, and she decided to euthanize it. And I wish he had told us, because there were about 4 or 5 people involved with that cat. It was bad though, and the end is bad. When things go bad with a cat, things go bad quickly. So an FIV, when things go bad at the end, it's bad news. I have never had an FIV cat in my house, so I haven't gone through it in my house. Every cat in this house gets tested. The kittens have all cleared. They've come in, and luckily none of them have ever had it. And the most recent kitten, Michael, is approximately 6 months. So we tested him and he was negative. So that was a good thing. He was at that borderline age, and he tested negative. You can take a cat from an outdoor colony where one tests positive and another one tests negative, so test them individually. Don't just assume that if one is positive, they're all positive. Some veterinarians will jump to that. Never put a cat down just because it's FIV positive. unless you've got a situation where the cat is got severe injuries, is FIV positive, can't find a home for it, and and it would require rehabilitation, surgeries, problems, and then and it was an older cat. I mean, that maybe you might sit there and say there's just too many things, but not if you don't have any cats. Not if you don't have many cats. It depends. You have to look at this. It's just one of many factors to consider when you have a situation where that cat. It's one thing. It's a marker of something to consider. Um, like I said, all of mine are negative. Um, I've had a few debates with people about please take it in, please. I couldn't. You can isolate it, but where? Where? I got no room. This really is, for me, taking in any cat is a life or death circumstance. An FELV, no, it's not even a discussion. It is that contagious. It is that much at risk. It just can't be. That has to go to a house where the person has no cats. It shouldn't even really be on the street because it's contagious enough to the other cats. So with that being said, thanks for listening. Of course, you can read the literature on your own, but at least you now know that if you bring a cat into the house, the standard free things, fleas, worms, snap test. That properly vets the cat for your house. With kittens, that snap test might not be accurate. If it were to test positive, you can follow it up with a PCR work. You can keep the kitten in a cage if you have other cats and then make a decision how you're going to decide on this. It's very hard. Once you take it in, I've never, like, my feeling is if it's under 6 months, I'm not going to test it. If it looks healthy and clear eyed and running around and playing, chances are it's going to be okay. There's no guarantees though, but I've been fortunate because they do test them later on when they're adults, and when I bring them to the specialist, they test them. They do a full blood panel, and that includes FIV and FELV when they're doing surgeries and things like that. And those things do occur later on in life for these animals. Thanks for listening. Good night.